Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today I'd like to address a certain topic that came into light late last year regarding a band that I used to play in many years ago. Yep, that's right. Long ago, before the YouTube era, I was an active drummer in the small New Orleans metal scene. For everyone that has subscribed to my channel and has watched previous videos, I've never talked about this before. If you are new to my channel, I'm guessing you are here because you saw the title of this video and immediately knew what this is all about. So let's get into the historical mystery of the nu metal song White Trash and the legacy of the bands Coexist and Minus Infinity, of which yours truly was a longtime member. In the late 1990s, before I moved to Colorado and was still living in my hometown of Metairie, Louisiana, I was the drummer for a band called Coexist, which eventually became known as Minus Infinity. The band started as a nu metal project, though inspired by metal in general, nu metal was the flavor of the month, and in those days, the band had a lot of fun taking that style in a bit heavier direction. We absolutely did not fit in whatsoever with the scene down there in New Orleans. I mean, a lot of the bands we played with, there were some different style bands that were doing different things. We were friends with everybody. But as far as people coming out to shows, I think a lot of people were more looking for that trademark southern sludgy metal kind of sound that's still employed today by bands like I Hate God, Crowbar, and many others. In those early years, we recorded an 8-song album titled Chaos and Creation. We self-released the album, burned CDs, and sold them at our shows. That would have been the year 2000, so there was no Facebook, Bandcamp, YouTube, or any other ways to promote it, other than doing shows and just by word of mouth. The album was an assortment of nu metal, thrash, and death metal influences, and one of the catchiest songs on there was a song called White Trash. White Trash was probably our most well-received song when we played live in those days, and I guess could have been considered our greatest hit by the very small few that knew who we were. It's an extremely catchy song with a lot of twists and turns, and Joey's lyrics were beloved. That album was full of stuff that, although really heavy, had a more of a mainstream appeal. It wasn't long before we wanted to completely abandon the nu metal elements and take the band in a more extreme metal direction by shedding the rap elements and incorporating more European and technical metal influences. Over time, the band saw a number of lineup changes, and the name of the band was subsequently switched to Minus Infinity, after a copyright dispute for the name Coexist. It also kind of made sense because the band was going in a completely, I don't want to say opposite direction, but there was enough changes in the music that it made sense to change the name of the band. As Minus Infinity, the band continued to record and play shows regularly over the course of 7 years. I was a member of the band for all of those iterations. Even when we tried to shed the nu metal tag and strive to be a more extreme band, we always got the request for White Trash every time we played live, so we kept it in the set list. Over the next few years, we never managed to make it past the local band status. As the band morphed into Minus Infinity, we were able to do one more recording in the studio. It was just an EP, 5-song EP, titled The Enigmatic Science of Silence. And after we had done that, we continued to write more music, and we were doing a lot of shows with higher profile bands around the Gulf Coast, opening for the likes of Mastodon, the Dave Rocky Experience, Soylent Green, Cephalic Carnage, Cataclysm, Misery Index, Drowning Pool, many more, before ultimately disbanding in 2004. If you aren't familiar with the name Dave Rocky, he was the man behind the character Odorous Rungus of Gwar. Dave took a liking to us after we opened up for the Dave Rocky Experience a couple times, and he offered to take our demo to Metal Blade, but unfortunately, that never came to fruition. In 2004, I made the decision to move to Colorado, and I stopped playing drums, which is a whole other story that I'm not going to get into for the purposes of this video. The other members went on to other projects, and we considered this music as a thing of the past. But we all look back fondly on those years as some of the best of times, and have many awesome memories, even though we never really saw any level of success. Until now. So fast forward to July of 2025, just a few short months ago, more than 20 years after the band ended, and nearly 26 years since the recording of the Coexist album, Chaos and Creation. It was brought to the attention of one of the original band members that a clip of the song White Trash had long ago found its way out on the internet and gained a pretty considerable following. Sometime in the last 20 years, a song snippet of White Trash was leaked out on peer-to-peer file-sharing networks and had spread mainly via Aries. The leaked MP3 was not tagged correctly, which is why it was never able to be identified. It had such titles as White Trash Nu Metal, Resident Evil, Deftones, Nu Metal Band, White Trash, etc. Even the leaked MP3 was not complete. It was only about 2.5 minutes of the song, whereas the full song was about 5.5 minutes. We have no idea when it first started, but over the years, it spread and became a subject of internet lore and mystery, where many wondered the identity of the band who recorded it. If you go on YouTube and search White Trash Nu Metal, you'll find a slew of videos that contain the song, with many speculating on who the band is. A couple of those videos exceeding hundreds of thousands of views. There are Reddit and Discord channel threads that were all dedicated to finding the identity of the band that recorded White Trash. Even the popular YouTuber, Wang, did a video breakdown talking about White Trash and the mysterious identity of its creators. Years passed, the internet speculated, and all of us in the band that created the song were completely in the dark for the whole thing. So back to July of 2025, one of the original members of Coexist, Ben, received an email from an individual claiming to be a part of an internet community that tries to identify lost songs. They asked Ben to confirm the identity of the band after they had found our old website on the Wayback Machine. With this beautiful piece of technological internet sleuthing, they were able to identify us with the lyrics to White Trash, which were originally posted there. As it happens, Ben uses the same email address that he had posted as the webmaster of the Coexist site, and was finally able to confirm the song was indeed us. It never occurred to us to even look for any interest in the music that we had recorded. Myself and the rest of the band members swear that it wasn't one of us that shared it, so the origin of the clipped MP3 is still mystery, and it just seemed to take off from there without any of us knowing about it. In 2004, after Minus Infinity ended, there was really no motivation to push any of it any further. Few of the original members are even active as musicians anymore, so there would have been no way to figure out what it was unless the correctly tagged MP3s could have been found. But thanks to the Wayback Machine and ingenuity of the fans of White Trash, the mystery has been solved. You know, to be honest, none of us ever even realized that the nu metal genre was still a thing that has a huge audience even today. We had all moved on from that even 23 years ago. It was something that came about pretty naturally in those days, but something that we quickly had wanted to distance ourselves from as we were all into more extreme metal type stuff. None of us were really huge nu metal fans. Speaking for myself, I always loved the first Slipknot record. I always thought that that was a really, really great record, still is. I definitely like a lot of the Deftones material, but I didn't really go that far with nu metal. Most of the other members in the band didn't either. It was definitely a short-lived phase for us, as we were ready to kind of move on and do different things. Of course, I am in no way trying to bag on anyone's enjoyment of nu metal, but for us, it was and is still a thing of the past. So there's a lot more to the story that came about once we were correctly identified, but I don't want to spoil the bigger story that hopefully is going to come along at some points. But I'm just going to leave it there as a summary of the events leading up to this. We've since received numerous requests that we release the full album Chaos and Creation that would include the full version of White Trash. For myself and the other band members, this has been like coming back full circle, and we've been pretty floored with the response and the level of history that the story has amassed over time. So that leads me to the whole point of releasing this video. The original Coexist and Minus Infinity recordings have finally seen a digital release on February 1st through all streaming platforms. In addition, myself and Ben have spun up a new YouTube channel that will also have all of the recordings, including live shows and other things that we did back in the day. The channel will exist as a sort of homage to our legacy. There's even been talk about putting together a short documentary to retell this amazing story of internet lore, depending on the reception once the recordings are released. We are all now in our late 40s, and this is stuff we did back in our 20s. It's amazing how many years went by where I kind of forgot about all of it. In all honesty, I used to be self-conscious about these recordings, and that's not because of the nu metal of Coexist, but because I was never happy with my drum performance. I'll be honest, I was never that great of a drummer. I never took one lesson. Everything I learned as a drummer was by ear and brute force, and having amazing guitar players to play with. I probably was at my best during live shows, but in my 2 times in the recording studio, I struggled. When we went into the recording studio, we didn't have much money, and we had to get those recording sessions done quick. I'd get like 2 or 3 takes at best to complete the songs, so there were many mistakes and it always haunted me. Listening back now, it's honestly not that bad, and I've gotten over myself, as it does give the recordings a more human and raw quality, rather than being buttery perfection. But I can say and speak for the other band members that we worked really hard on this music, and still to this day, we're very proud of it. It's amazing to see that it's finally getting some kind of due. So for those who have stuck around waiting for this, thank you so much for your continued interest, and I hope that the release of the music has brought some sense of closure after waiting for it for so long. I know it has for us, and we're excited to see what you think of the full albums. For my subscribers and people from the metal YouTube community, go check out the music and let me know what you think. If you aren't into nu metal, some of that Coexist stuff isn't going to be your thing. But you know, I'm not into nu metal either. But I have an open mind, and listening back to that stuff, we really did it right in a much heavier fashion. Now that we have the music properly copyrighted, we found that White Trash has aggregated almost 500,000 listens. So hopefully the fans of the song will like the rest of the record. If nu metal doesn't float your boat, you might be more interested in the Minus Infinity stuff, which is more representative of what we were going for in those days. So for now, I'll be running 2 YouTube channels, and hope to get back to doing reviews at Heavy Metallurgy, and adventure videos here at Future Ruins. The first of 2026 of which is coming real soon. You can find our music at Coexist-NOLA, N-O-L-A, or click on the link in the description. The Coexist and Minus Infinity albums are also available via normal streaming platforms. There's been talk of physical copies, whether CD or vinyl. We really don't know right now. At this time, we are content with the digital releases, and we'll see what happens next. So until next time, cheers. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video.